This is the tutorial on how to make a felt needle book. It's a little notebook that opens up. It has pages and you can keep your needles in here. You'll also learn how to sew on a snap. There's two pattern pieces. The outside of the book, you need to cut two pieces of felt. They can be the same color or two different colors. And the inside pages, you just need one piece. After you cut your pieces, you'll take whichever color is going to be the outside of your book, and it's just one single layer. And then you're going to customize it to be personal for you. Now remember that the book folds in half, so when you do your design, you want to keep it on the front. And you can decorate the front and back if you want to, but remember that it folds in half, so when you're getting ready to stitch your pieces on there, you can cut your initial out of felt and use a button. You can use some trim with ribbon. Halloween's coming up, so I made a little pumpkin on this one. These are some that students made and left behind. They put their initial and little flowers, buttons, more decorative. This one really got fancy with ribbon, and they decorated both the front and the back of their book. So you want to put your design on before you sew anything together. After creating your design on the front of your book, you will then sew the back of the book onto it. And you'll do what we did on the bobbin bag. You'll do a inside edge of the presser foot, close to the edge, a zigzag, and then another straight stitch to create a border around the book. After you have the two layers sewn together, fold it in half so you can find the center, and you can place a pin where the center is. Then you'll take your inside page, fold it in half to find the center. You can place a pin where the center is, and then line those up. Now the pages are smaller than the inside here, and then you have your center line where you need to sew. You can mark with your fabric pencil there, and then pin that down, and then stitch down the center of the book. So that will create your pages. After you've stitched down the center, fold everything in half. This would be a good idea to use a press cloth. You cannot iron on this acrylic. This is a synthetic fabric. It will melt on the iron. So fold the book in half, use a press cloth, I'll show you that in class, and press it. And then you're going to stitch a binding. Now you're going through several layers of fabric. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. So go slowly. Back stitch, sew across here, and back stitch. And then the last step is to sew on the snap. This is a good example of how to sew on the snap. This is not a good example. This has been sewn on not nicely. So I'm going to show you how to sew a snap-on next. It's important to pay attention to what's the innie and the outie. So this is really important. You have the innie belly button here, and you have the outie belly button here. So I'm going to snap that. So before I sew it down, I'm going to make sure I got it right. So that snaps into place. The snap got the name just like the zipper. It makes a sound. So I want that to be exactly opposite. So I'm going to unsnap it. I know they're fitting together, and I'm going to hold it here. And again, I'm going to make a little stitch to anchor it. So I have knotted my thread. I take a little stitch. I make a back stitch. Make another little back stitch. Now I have what's called my anchor thread, and make sure I have my outie belly button, and I just put the needle through there and it can slide on down like an anchor. You don't want to leave extra long threads hanging from my knot, so I'm going to cut that off. And now I'm going to go around through each of these holes. So I go under. I'm not going all the way through to the other side. I'm just catching the little bit of felt, the inside of the notebook. And that's 3. Don't get worried if your thread gets tangled up or something like that. That happens in life. Just stay calm and breathe. And I'm going to go under. I'm trying to get my needle under. Don't use a long needle. Use one of your shorter needles. And then change your work around in your hand. Reposition that. And I'm going to go under and over. Sometimes it's good to remember to breathe. Like you can inhale and exhale. Like I can inhale when I go in. Exhale as I go out. Breathe in. Breathe out. I think that's 3. I'm going to try to hop over to the other hole. I'm making this look easy. I'm not doing perfect. I'm just trying to show you guys how to do it. And then you continue along and continue along. And then remember how we make a knot is we catch a little bit of fabric. And then we don't let the loop go all the way through. We hop through to secure. And I always like to make a double knot. So make a loop, hop through the hoop. And then when you're all done, put your beautiful needles inside. Sewing on the snap. This poor little needle book was left behind, and the person who cut it out, they only cut the inside page. They didn't use the 2 different pattern pieces, so it came out kind of small. You can see it's the wrong size. This is a really beautiful example of a needle book that a student did. They used some decorative stitching on the back. They use some embroidery and flowers and some ribbon. And then you can see the way the snap is sewn down. You have to go around the edges like this and around the edges like that. This only has 1 snap, so they didn't finish sewing the other side, and that won't be effective. And this person didn't sew the snap, so let's go on to the snap. When you're ready to sew the snap on, this is the last step. Make sure that you have enough room, that the pages are not too long. So if the page is too long on the inside, just trim a little bit so you have enough room. You'll come and get the snap from here, and this is the back of the snap and the front of the snap. So you'll unsnap it from the card. And you'll have to pay extra special attention when you sew them on, because there's an innie belly button and an outie belly button that fit together. So keep them together, and then when you unsnap it, you'll know that you have to sew this side, the innie belly button, up on this side of your needle book. Thread your needle, double the thread, and then make a knot. I'm trying to learn how to do this one. If you can't do it like that, then just make a loop, pull the tail through like that. Don't leave a long thread hanging. Get rid of that. Okay, before you try to put this, now I've got the innie, this is the innie belly button. Before you even try to sew it on, take a little stitch where you want it to go. So I want it to go here in the center. Take a little stitch, a little bite, and I'm going to take a little back stitch. That's secure. Now I call this my anchor thread because I have something to sew it onto. So I want to make sure is, oopsie daisy, These things are kind of small and they're hard to hold on to, so just stay calm and breathe. So I'm going to bring the needle up through one of the holes. So what we're doing is we're going to go around the hole 3 times, around the next hole 3 times, and so on and so on and so on. So here I go. I don't have to now worry about holding on to that. I'm just going to put my needle through there, and the snap is going to slide right down. I'm not going through all the layers of fabric. I'm just going through that hole, and I'm just going to go through this little bit of felt on the inside. I'm going to bring the needle up and slide the thread through. Now I'm going to go around the outside of the snap, bring the needle up, slide it through, and do 3 times through each hole. You don't have to tie a knot in between. I'm going to sneak underneath. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to come up over here. Now I need to get under this other hole. So we're going under and over. We're going under, just catching a little bit of cloth, and over, under, over, under, over. Okay, you don't want to go across. You don't want to go across on top, because the way the snap works is it has to be metal to metal. So if I'm going to go to the next hole, I have to go underneath, stealth. Now I'm going to just get the felt and go in the hole, come up, and you continue around the same way.